Just as we wait, and since he's on here, I would like to ask John how your TikTok account is going, if you're doing all right and getting a lot of views.
It's doing all right.
It
Yeah.
was blocked when when Twitter took Trump off. TikTok has taken Hunter off. Similar concerns.
John makes TikTok fun. I'll just say that.
I've got a Reddit account though now.
I think we're ready to get started, and I want to welcome folks to our January 28th work session of the Johnson City Commission and regional stakeholders with whom we collaborate. Pursuant to Executive Order 71 from Governor Lee, we're conducting this meeting electronically, and so as a part of that, we need to call the roll. I'm not precisely sure who all needs to be called, and so I will let Pete Peterson decide who gets called for roll and who does not.
Okay, Commissioner Brock.
Here.
Commissioner Hunter.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy. Vice Mayor Fowler.
Here.
And Mayor Wise.
Here. So we have been working on a strategic plan now for a part of a year, and you all have seen a copy of it before now, but this meeting is really an effort to bring all of our partners and stakeholders together to talk about how we might work most effectively together. Before we really dig into that, it's probably worth just a quick run across the Brady Bunch tiles for non-city commissioners, just to introduce yourself and what organization you're with or role you play, because there are a couple folks that I think may benefit from that. So Diana, you are first on mine. So do you want to just say a brief word and then we'll just continue from there?
Diana Cantler with the Johnson City Development Authority.
Alicia, would you go next?
Well, Alicia Summers, I'm with the Northeast Tennessee Regional Economic Partnership, and I am the VP of Business Development.
And the other Alicia?
Hi there, I'm Alicia Phelps, and I'm with Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association.
Thank you. Chris?
Chris Degenhart with the Regional Planning Commission and led the committee working on the comprehensive bridge plan this past year for the long-term planning committee.
Thank you. John?
John Getz with Bridge Public Affairs, and we help the city with developing the strategic plan.
Thank you. Keisha, everybody knows you, but I don't want you left out.
Thank you, Mayor. Keisha Shown with the city's Communications and Marketing Department.
Mitch.
Mitch Miller with the Northeast Tennessee Regional Economic Partnership.
Bob.
Bob Cantler with the Chamber serving Johnson City, Jonesboro, and Washington County.
Julia.
Julia Turpin with the Johnson City Public Library.
Brenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Brenda Whitson with the Johnson City Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Andy.
Andy Marquardt, I'm with the Hands-On Discovery Center, but I serve as chair of the Johnson City CVB.
Thank you. Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Dykes with Bright Ridge and also with NetRep.
Dr. Wild.
Stacy Wild, I'm the chair of the Johnson City Regional Planning Commission.
Thank you. Mayor Grandy.
Joe Grandy, Mayor of Washington County.
And Brent Long.
Brent Long here. I serve as chairman of the Johnson City Development Authority.
Thank you all. What I'd like to do before we get started, this is blocked out until 4 o'clock. I have found that meetings that run much more than about an hour and a half are more meeting than most people can endure. And so we're going to try to not take up the balance of your afternoon. But we really do want to bring all of these parties together. Johnson City, I think we recognize, has a lot to offer, but we don't have unlimited resources. And so when we as a community are doing things to engage our community and the outside world every opportunity we have to leverage all of the potential points of leverage that we have are going to get us a far better yield or return than if we're all kind of going off in a bunch of different directions. And I think that was what was behind the idea of the strategic plan, but also really what I would like to see happen, and it may be quarterly, that we get this group together for a 45-minute Zoom meeting or whatever format it looks like, just to compare notes on what have you got in the pipeline. Former Mayor Brock was just talking about the Christmas trees at Founders Park. And that's one of those things that I, for one, was pleasantly surprised by. And I think because of the nature of how it came to be, was done at close to when the trees went up. But it would clearly have had implications for the CVB or for JCDA. And to the degree possible, if we get together quarterly and just say, hey, here's what I've got in the pipeline. I've got this thing happening over here. That helps everybody else on the team begin to realize, well, that's what CVB's got going on, but JCDA could dovetail nicely with that, or the chamber might be able to dovetail nicely with that. You know, I hear Jeff Dykes has broadband internet he's probably interested in selling to people. And so, you know, there may be an opportunity for him in connecting to some of these things. And so I don't want to create meetings for meeting's sake, but I also want all of us to be aware of where we can put our resources together to multiply the benefit to our respective stakeholders. With that, we have an outline that Mr. Peterson and I have worked on. And Pete, do you want to make any other introductory comments before we start into that?
Well, just real quickly, I'd like to thank everybody for your time today and for your previous input and your efforts between a year ago and today. You know, we're coming up on budget season. Our departments are already working on departmental budget requests. And one of the takeaways from this meeting is to hopefully get enough information exchange going and some direction so that as your agencies begin formulating their budget request for next year, you can justify your request and demonstrate how the funding you're asking for is going to help fulfill the city's strategic plan. In other words, check a box, for lack of a better way. So, you know, as the mayor pointed out, coordination and cooperation in helping the city achieve its strategic plan in a comprehensive, coordinated, and unified manner, and to make sure that we all stay informed on an ongoing basis. One of the other takeaways is to hopefully establish some sort of schedule moving forward that this group could assemble for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever, to just update each other so that we can get the coordinated message of what a great place Johnson City and Washington County is, and to move economic development forward. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to kind of open the floor. You all have seen the document. It was sent out, I think, to most everybody probably around November in its final form. And I would be interested to hear from everyone with respect to just updating the current status of your respective organization as far as how this document might be helping you all in your effort toward planning, just really to begin the conversation about coordinating and collaborating moving forward. So I don't know if there's somebody who wants to kind of take a first stab at that question. You know, what is the current status of your planning around this document? But I'll open the floor and encourage someone to be a willing volunteer.
Mayor, I'm happy to go first, if that is okay.
Please.
When, you know, our team has looked at the city strategic plan, you know, many times, And as you know, most of you are aware, we too just completed a strategic plan that was approved by the city last March. And so when we look at, even when we're looking at economic vitality and the things that you have classified under that, of the things that, what you want to accomplish and then how you can accomplish it. When we look at your segment of where you put in there, strategically promote the benefits of the region, I think the CVB, does that with partners like NETA and through our regional advertising campaigns and things like that. And I think that we recently did that with our Live Retire campaign and partnership that we did, with Bright Ridge, that promoted us as a great relocation destination. So, that campaign was very, very successful. That's the first time that we've ever conducted a campaign to that magnitude, if you will. And we had over 600 inquiries from that campaign in very targeted markets. And I think, our second campaign with Bright Ridge dollars are supposed to begin in March. And one of the things that, as we looked at that, and we know that throughout this whole thread, the thread that keeps coming back in a lot of these sections is getting people to either remote work here, live, retire, and to show the economic vitality of this community. One of the things that we wondered if it's possible is that, Lisa Sagona is unbelievable from your all standpoint. And is it possible to get some additional data that when somebody comes to get water services turned on, do they ask the question of where are you moving from? Do they have to have that as part, not just people that are from the region, but, absolutely new turn-ons, not just change of addresses. So that was one of the things that we thought could help with that, as well as help in another area as well. Assemble all resources to focus strategies on sectors hard hit by downtown. I think if anybody knows that, all of us know that downtown and, was really hurt by this. And I think through promoting Johnson City as a destination for outdoor recreation, for getaways, for motorcycle touring, and that we can do that and showcase Johnson City through our assets. We produce some amazing videos for the Bright Ridge campaign that we are very happy to share with our partners, both at the Chamber, at NetRep, and with JCDA. And I think that, we are the source, the resource that has the collateral material from the vacation guide standpoint, outdoor guides, the videos, the swag, et cetera, that we can, very willingly share, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel or duplicate those efforts. Quality of place, we looked at, I beg your pardon?
Watch a Chrome button, then click Add Extension to continue.
John, you need to mute yourself.
Quality of place, when we looked at investing in the public arts, I think what the city has done, and then what I just saw this week of what public arts is going to do, I think that is just so important to quality of place. And I think when we bring groups to town, we always encourage them to at least do one event in town. So I think if there are ways, as we look to the future, how that can be expanded and how the CVB can help, JCDA or whomever, with the city to accomplish that, we're very happy to do that. And I think that kind of ties all back into, downtown vibrancy. And I agree, Mayor, I think that the Christmas in the Park was one of the best things that the city and Bright Ridge, have done. I think it just, showed that how this community can come together in a very short amount of time to accomplish this. And I think that when we look at events that are in downtown, that we need to, work with our partners to strengthen those events and to promote them. And I think we can be a good resource to event owners, to JCDA, and to others who are doing events in downtown to promote that. The promotion of Tannery Knobs and other mountain bike trails along with Buffalo Mountain. I think that, most of you have seen a lot of the photography and the videos that we've done from both of those vantage points. And in 2021, we would work with JCDA and whomever else in the city will be hosting in October the Sorba Enduro event. And the intro of this event will be 60 to 75 people, but we're very hopeful that that can grow. We know the capacity up at Tannery Knobs is low, but we think that there's a way that we can work through this. And I think one of the things that we would be very interested in is how can we go to the next steps from the standpoint of Buffalo Mountain, and when IMBA will get any of their report ready for you all and for us to see, and then let's look at how can we take our marketing plan and enhance that going forward. I think that from the standpoint of the future ready of the infrastructure, Bright Ridge is a huge and key partner in all of that. And like I said, our next campaign with Bright Ridge will be in March. And I think if the city decides that, you want us to continue any of the work that we're doing in Live Retire, then, we would look to you for direction on that and what that, could mean for this community. I think you can ask any realtor in town, and they're going to tell you that they have seen such an uptick. And I see that from the Realtor Association too, of houses and homes that are being sold, and then the recognition that we continue to get as, we just received one today, as us being the number one city to move to, especially during these pandemic times. I think excellence in city government. I think when you decided that us having a first-class visitor center was important to you as it was to us, then I think that, as we look at that visitor center and as we go forward with the design, that Go All Out, that brand will serve as the space for visitors and locals to come and get information, and it'll represent this community and the vibrancy of this community. And it'll also be a place that, branded items could be bought, and that would help the locals to, get community pride. And there will be a full-time staff person that will, greet visitors as they come in and be very enthusiastic and knowledge about that. But we felt like from the standpoint of, the city's attitude of Go All Out from their own standpoint with customer service, we would like to really think out of the box, if you will. And we had a program that was called Gotta Know JC, but we would like to revamp that with the help of the marketing department and Alicia from NETA to Know All Out. And that program would be designed as a resource to better educate the community on the assets and the opportunities within the hospitality industry. And it also could, work to be a fun and educational program, not only to frontline or to city staff who deal with the consumer or with the public, but it could be for our hospitality employees, for realtors and other community members to create great ambassadors for the city. So that's kind of our stab at the strategic plan and how we see a lot of that, really making sense into the things that we're currently doing, and that we can absolutely expand, with budget year going forward in 21 and 22 and beyond.
Thank you, Brenda.
Joe, can we, there was something that Brenda said in the very beginning that I think we need to capture somewhere. That was a great report, but you talked about data, and I'm wondering if we don't really begin to look at a dashboard that helps, that's underlying for measurement and metrics of how well the strategic plan is doing. So if we could just capture that somewhere and then look at, with each one of our partners here, what in your area would feed into that dashboard.
One thing that I heard Brenda say that was interesting was capturing the utility hookups. Where were they coming from? So that was one takeaway specifically that I thought was worth noting. Thank you. Does anyone else want to go second?
Mayor Joe?
Yes,
May I
sir.
speak for the Regional Planning Commission?
If Dr. Wild says you can.
She's asked me to.
Oh, okay.
I'm not speaking for the Planning Commission as those. I'm trying to represent some of the work that's been done in 2020 on the comprehensive bridge plan. And just to quickly, briefly introduce that, that's a 16-element strategy plan that was produced in the 2000s, and it was coming to a natural ending timeline in 2020. So prior to having access to new census information and new demographics information for our community, we decided to try to extend what was considered to still be a very comprehensive and well-written document, or a collection of documents. So Wendy, do I have the capacity to share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see this?
All we can see is the Brady Bunch.
Okay. Well. I don't seem to be able to succeed at getting my screen to share. Well, what I was going to show you was they're going to be, now I don't know how to get back to unsharing my screen. There. Sorry, I clicked the wrong window. Now can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. This is the element, these are the elements of the bridge plan and the comprehensive plan. What I wanted to go down to, I also wanted to just mention in passing, we've developed connections with a whole variety of, a lot of these organizations are represented in this meeting together today, where we've partnered up with these organizations to refresh through the bridge planning writing process all these different elements to try to make them make sense and be applicable for 2020 through 2025 at a high level, and also down at a very specific tactical or activity level. So, and then finally, I wanted to introduce you to this document, if I can get it on the screen. I'm sorry. We've actually mapped the elements of the bridge plan with the main portions of the new strategy plan as we've read the two documents side by side. And I just want to say that I was greatly relieved when I was able to get access to the strategy plan and see that it did not conflict in pretty much any way that I could find with the structure and the content of the strategy plan as we've got in the comprehensive document, in the bridge plan. So we're very pleased and very excited about the synergy between tactical planning and strategy as laid out in the city's plan. And I think Dr. Wild has some additional information to share about some things that are going to be coming along in the Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah, one of the takeaways from working on this bridge plan over the last 6 to 9 months was really a desire amongst the commissioners who served on that subcommittee to really become more strategic in nature. And so we have a retreat planned for the Planning Commission coming up in this next week. And the focus of that retreat, we did a pre-retreat survey amongst commissioners, and we've compiled that data. And we were really just trying to assess from the current planning commissioners their level of satisfaction with what the current planning commission is doing and what they envision it being able to do in the future. And so the focus of our upcoming retreat is really going to be discussion of what direction do we want to take the planning commission. We've kind of described most of our actions as transactional at this time, but we really want to become more strategic in nature. And so one of the expected outcomes of that retreat is to really reach a consensus as to what direction the Planning Commission wants to go, what specific actions we're going to need to take to get there, and then what measures we can take to determine whether or not we're achieving that. So I think you're going to see some more of that coming out, and certainly some of you are going to be invited to participate in that retreat as well.
Thank you, Dr. Wild. Who would like to go next?
I'll just step in and do it. I really appreciate the work that's been done. I know that it dates back a long time ago when TVA was here and kind of brought us all together for the first time, but I really left that meeting feeling really encouraged. So I just appreciate Keisha for putting together a great document, her team, and then this commission as a whole for working really hard to get to the point where we can actually visualize and see something here. But I just touch base real quickly. I know in going through the report, as I've looked at it when it was first released, you know, I think one of the key things that we always like to focus our attention on at NetRep is existing business support. I think especially during times where COVID hit, you know, we didn't know what in the world was going to happen, but we felt that it was a great opportunity for us to be a resource for our companies and try to be able to at least share the opportunity for those folks to connect and talk. And Alicia Summers, who is on the call here, has done a great job really doing that. It started out, I guess, back in April of 2020. Bringing these groups together at that time every week and allowing our employers to kind of talk about issues, situations. I know several, I know Pete's been on there, Joe, Mayor Brock, I think you may even attend one of those meetings and talk to the group. But it really has opened the doors for us to connect with them more easily and efficiently with Zoom. Continuing that, now we're at about once a month where they get together, but we've also talked, Alicia and I have talked bigger picture projects, and my hope is this regional hub comes together. Maybe one of the key things that we can focus on to support our industries is creating a supplier database, something that can be given to each of our employers as if they're having a product that's made out of state, out of the region, and possibly look at opportunities to get that product made here. It translates into more jobs, more revenue, things like that that stays right here in the region. So I think trying to look from that end, really looking at Johnson City as a whole and expanding their outreach with their businesses here within the region, and seeing if there's opportunities where, you know, a supplier network can be created where, you know, money is staying right here. As we talk about collaboration between entities, I think, you know, spinning out from that first meeting, I think it's opened up a lot of the doors in conversation. I'll just make one mention that's relevant to this group. You know, we've been able to work with the CVB recently. I know Brenda and her team in their efforts to really look at not only a visit here, but live here type site and initiative. We've been able to take some stuff from our Talent Connect website with the cost of living calculator and allow that to be adapted over to their site as well to be able to use, and just trying to just create some synergy there to work together on projects so we're not duplicating efforts. Also too, I think there was a piece, if I remember correctly, about supporting childcare initiatives. That's something we put a lot of emphasis on, working with Lottie Rhines at the Development District. We've financially put some dollars into a child care finder, helping out with some of the initiatives she's working on to provide adequate child care right now in a time where, you know, and I'm going through it with my son, you don't know tomorrow, you know, ELC over in Johnson City is going to be shut down because of COVID. So just trying to make sure that we can do everything we can to support those efforts right now and help people who need to go to work and can help, you know, keep our businesses, you know, moving. Have adequate childcare and take one stress and one burden off of people. Make mention of this. I believe there was a part talking about sustainability in the plan, in the city having some focus and efforts on sustainability. Had a great meeting a couple of days ago with Jeremy Ross over at ETSU, and kind of just hearing his vision on sustainability and what he wants ETSU to be recognized as, you know, as an institution outside of the region. Maybe there's some synergy there. I'm not the expert on that side. That's probably more of Kayla's shop here at our office, but you know, there could be some opportunities there to really focus on some initiatives with ETSU as a whole that might benefit the city of Johnson City. And then lastly, I just say this, and Mayor Grandy, I would love for you to echo on this because I know you've been knee deep in regionalism activities right now, but you know, I really think encouraging out of the box thinking, which is stated in the report, is something that we really have to focus on and think beyond what we've always done. You know, as we look to grow, especially into a more tech-based economy now, since we're all working from home, and I think that's going to be a continuous trend. And we want to look at focus on recruiting remote workers and things like that. We're going to have to think differently and probably take more of a risk in some of the things that we do. So if we can take those risks together, I think we're going to see success together a lot better as well. So again, I just go back and say thanks for putting this together, Commission and Pete and Keisha and everybody else at the city. I think this is going to be something that's going to set the city up for great success.
Thank you, Mitch.
I'll go next.
Thank you, Diana.
Sure. So I looked over the strategic plan and sort of broke it down into different categories, one of which the first one was supporting existing businesses and the things that we at JCDA do and to support our businesses now. We know that it's a very challenging time, but it's also you can put more focus into helping your existing businesses than watching them fail and having that that failure happen. And so one of the things that we've tried to do is be a connector, connect them with TSBDC, Founders Forge, whoever can give them the tools that they need to succeed, whether it was, working with the city to provide curbside pickup, spaces for restaurants, but also looking forward into this recovery time. What are things that our businesses are going to need downtown? These small locally owned businesses, do we need to look at additional spaces for sidewalk dining for our restaurants? Is it adding lighting or something to address safety issues? So we want to support those existing businesses. We also want to help create new businesses. So we're working on a campaign right now where we are showcasing, it's called Downtown Now. We're showcasing the existing property that's available for lease or purchase in videos, but we're also interviewing current business owners for them to tell their story, why to open a business in downtown and why now is the best time. So we've got that campaign that's going on to support existing businesses and recruit new businesses. We also have a $50,000 grant through Tennessee Main Street for retail incubator and pop-up shops that we're going to start working on in this 2021. So that will offer some support to property owners to pay for partial lease of space to feel like one of our 5,000 square foot businesses, but it also gives somebody that wants to open this business a little less risk for the first year. We looked at talent attraction. We know that even in site selection, when Alicia or Mitch are bringing somebody to our community, those site selectors look at your downtown because they feel like that it is really the best representation. They may be looking at Washington County Industrial Park, but we know they also want to see how a community, their city is represented in their historic district. So we want to continue to work on that walkable, unique district to recruit businesses that are in outdoor recreation industry or those that foster a connection to ETSU, not just its students, but its staff, alumni, and parents. All of those really foster that connection. We want to look at things that millennials and young talent want in a community. We know they want, a lot of them, of course, want to be able to work remotely. Bright Ridge has 10 gig in downtown, thankfully, but we need to work with some of our property owners to look at when they're building second floor living, do they need to go beyond just a one apartment space? Do we need more condos and second floor living? And what other things would make us desirable for young talent? Is it more arts? Is it more opportunity for experiential retail and things like that? The other thing that I think is very important is we need a dog park. And so Boyd Sports has a grant. One of the things that was listed was pursuing all funding Boyd Sports is going to be giving multiple $25,000 and $100,000 grants to communities to create dog parks this next year. And I think that would be a very good community-based project. We could get a lot of people around. YP Tri is already interested in it, but there's a very big need for a dog park in our downtown area. Can we work on that? We're talking about Walnut Street and all the redevelopment that's going to occur there. And I believe that the JCDA can be a real good resource in that project. Of course, we know we're going to want to look at economic development tools such as TIF and facade for the current and new property owners and businesses going in there. But also the existing business owners are going to need some assistance in promoting their business and how customers can access it during that construction time. And so, how can we assist them there? In the JCDA, we have moved the Main Street program to what was the Downtown Johnson City Foundation. It's our 501c3. They have a new name and a new board. It's called Connect Downtown Johnson City. And it has a new mission and a new focus, and it's an extremely, it's a great board. We're really excited about the people that are serving on it. The Main Street program is coming under that. And so they're looking at some of these initiatives as well. How can they be a part of it? We know that we need to continue to support events that draw people to the downtown district. So things like the Johnson City Farmers Market, hopefully bringing back Founders After 5 in a way that we can be socially distanced, but our downtown festivals, our Downtown Merchants Association is going to revamp First Fridays. It's going to be different. It's not going to have the street closures, but they're going to do some really unique things there. Things like Christmas in the Park. We want to continue to be an active part of bringing events, because we think events, not only do they bring people to your community, but they also show that it's clean, that it's safe, and what other things that we have to offer. And so going into community safety, I think that we can continue to do some of the work where we really educated our property owners. Keep your outside lights on at night. Make sure that your windows are clear so that it discourages crime, but also look to see if there's ways that we can add additional lighting to areas in the downtown district that are dark, to create this atmosphere of walkability and safety. And then the other thing that we really need to look at, and this, you may not think that this falls under community safety and walkability, but I think we need to look somehow, is there a way to create a parking authority that we can manage the 2-hour public parking effectively, so that it will support businesses and their customers and people that work downtown. So that's just a few of the highlights of things that I looked at.
Thank you.
Joe, can I piggyback off of Diana for just a moment?
Sure.
Diana, I was thrilled to hear some of the things you were saying. And right now, the planning department in Johnson City is undergoing tremendous change. We're down several staff members. But before we lost staff members, and what I hope is going to pick up, and we're going to take that ball and go running as fast as we can with it once they're replaced, were a lot of initiatives and a lot of things that were coming through from the staff and pushed to the Planning Commission, which we approved, that I hope are going to really increase the livability, workability, playability of downtown. Some of the recent things that we've passed, and changes in zoning designations and things like that, that I hope can really help with making spaces downtown, as well as, surrounding the downtown in particular, more work, live, play spaces. And so I was really glad to hear some of the things you're saying. And I think one of the outcomes I expect from our upcoming retreat is going to be much stronger alliances with partner organizations. So I suspect you're going to be hearing from us shortly.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Who would like to go next? The screens have all moved around, and so the mechanism I was going to use to keep track of who still needs to talk has now all sort of scrambled. I think we still have 2 Alicias, a Bob, and a Julia, unless I've missed somebody. So who would like to go
Mayor,
next?
I'm sorry, Mayor, it's Alicia. Can I jump in kind of and add a little bit more to what Mitch was talking about? This is more on the infrastructure side of the strategic plan. So there's a direct link between existing industry expansions and recruitment of new industries to infrastructure. And we've worked a couple of projects that as a result of expansions, we've gotten some infrastructure for the city, some traffic signalization, water and sewer improvements, and those have all been a result of those expansions from LPI, Mulliken, Crown, Allied Dispatch. So there is that connection there that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of. And also in terms of the creation of the infrastructure for the EVs, we're seeing a small uptick in the number of recruitment projects for suppliers of EV manufacturers. So I'm sure that would be something that definitely could help us in the recruitment of some of those types of companies.
Thank you.
I can go ahead.
Please.
So at the Johnson City Public Library, we have just completed our current strategic plan. So the timing actually couldn't be better for us for the release of the city's plan. And one of the great things about our organization is that there is not an aspect of the city's plan that I think that the library couldn't contribute or interpret and translate into the way that we provide services. So we had a lot of fun kind of digging into this and thinking really big about what we could do to support the city's plan. So I will not dive deep into the details. I have multiple pages spread across my desk right now, but I'll just mention some of the highlights that really, I think, spoke to me about what we could do. With regard to economic vitality, I was so excited to hear that there might be surveying of existing businesses, because certainly if there's things that we could do to help provide continuing education for either staff or the workforce in general, we would love to do that. One thing we're particularly interested in right now is service to teens, but also like emerging adults who need a little help with regard to just basic life skills. So we've talked a little bit about ensuring that our 18 to like 24-year-olds are workplace ready. I think sometimes they kind of get forgotten in these types of conversations. And it's certainly a demographic that is present on campus at ETSU, but if they're not in college, how can we make sure that we're meeting their needs to ensure that they know how to go to work on time, how to file their taxes and things like that. So we're curious about how we can serve them. With regard to quality of place, I think the sky is the limit with regard to what the library can do. We kept kind of hearing about this concept of the arts in the community. And so we were thinking of ways that we could enhance our space to provide free public gallery space in downtown Johnson City. I love events in the city, but I also think there needs to be things provided to people 365 days a year so that we are a continual destination. And the library is often forgotten as a destination, but in a normal year, we welcome about 20,000 guests a month into our building. So if we had a space on our campus that could be some sort of a free arts space where it's not about buying and selling art, it's just about celebrating arts, I think it could be a really good fit. And sort of the whole King Common campus area. I think at one time there was talk about making that an arts campus. And I wonder if it's not the moment to reinvest in that concept. I think just something as simple as that, not simple, nothing is that simple, but if we could do something like temporarily close Millard and do a pop-up arts market, what an amazing experience that would be for people to use King Commons, the playground, come to the library, and really take over and enjoy public spaces in kind of a new way. So we were really excited to see the emphasis on the arts in the plan. Gosh. We think that there's a lot, of course, that we can do to support families. We love the idea of establishing pop-up libraries through vending machines throughout the underserved areas of our community. We could put these, they look like a vending machine. You scan your card and you can get books. And we could put them anywhere, outdoors or indoors. So I think there's a lot of room for excitement around that for our staff. And just also more staff to get out in the communities, in the underserved parts of our communities in Johnson City. And I think in the state of Tennessee, there's this gap in service, or maybe not in service, but coordination of services for families with children birth to 5. And those first 2,000 days of a child's life before kindergarten are pivotal. Their brain is developing in really important ways. And so I think that we could really help to ensure that efforts are being coordinated to provide families and young children the services they need. So when kids go to kindergarten, they are ready to thrive, not only through literacy, but they should have had dental screenings by that point. They should know how to play with their peers. They should understand basic concepts of sharing. And I think that education is a lot of that, not just for the children, but for parents as well. So I think the library could certainly lend a hand with that. We would love to have electric vehicle charging stations in our parking lot. I think that makes tons of sense. They should be everywhere around the area. So I was so happy to see that in the plan. And then as far as just excellence in city government, I think that we're doing a good job within our organization to make sure that we're being forward thinking and inclusive, but we have a place to go too with regard to training for staff. So I'm glad to see that I can get that in there for our folks. So we're really pleased and excited with the plan. So thank you. And it's beautiful, Keisha. Great job getting the graphic design and everything. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
So real quick, one great collaboration that we've done recently is the library, public arts, ETSU arts, and the Downtown Johnson City Foundation are working on a bronze sculpture scavenger hunt. If you've been to Greenville, South Carolina, there's the Mice on Main, but it has been it's going to be really exciting. The ETSU students researched it. They developed the molds for these incredible bronze animals. The library and a couple other key former Johnson City teachers have made the scavenger hunt. We're putting it together. Public Works is going to install it. Our city businesses downtown, we're willing to have them placed on their buildings. It's just going to be a great, it was just a great collaboration. And I think those, the more we can do that, the stronger that we are, because we all have such incredible resources and talent. And when we bring them together, it's just huge. So I shout out to Julia and her, Donna McCalman from the Johnson City Public Library, because it was a great process.
I think Keisha was wanting to say something.
No, thank you. I've heard a couple of compliments and kudos on the plan, and I was just clarifying that was not Keisha, that was JT. So thank you for that and your nice comments. And I'll pass along thanks to John Getz too for putting the plan together, because they did a lot of work in that. So excellent job.
Thank you. Bob, a moment ago, you almost looked like you were going to go, and then Julia went. So do you want to go next?
I'm not as quick on the mouse button as Julia is. I'm much older, and I usually hate to follow Diana anyway, but there's a lot of exciting things going on with the chamber in regards to our strategic plan that we've kind of reevaluated and looked at what we're doing, and we came up with 3 key initiatives that, in addition to our regular services of education, advocate, networking, and resources, that we're working on for this year. And those are better marketing and communications in regards to what we're doing for our websites, communicating to our members, to our community, and so forth. But that's more of an internal work for us. The 2 external areas that we're really putting a lot of emphasis and focus and resources is small business development. We see there's a large gap in our community that 80% of our businesses are small businesses. And when Mitch and I were working on the Region Ahead group, it became quite prevalent of lack of sophistication for some of our businesses that are out there. In regards, we were asking them to put together a spreadsheet of their finances, and some of them people were turning in things on a legal page. That there's opportunities for us to help and grow our small businesses, and we wanted to to put together, we have a council that's addressing this, and the head of that council is Ashley Grindstaff, who is the general manager of the mall, and then a group of key leaders in her group, and they'll be partnering with our workforce development. And then as it expands, we'll probably talk to Alicia Summers and Mitch and other entities. But we find there's a gap in regards to of not having someone who's calling on these small businesses throughout our community. One of the parts that when we researched this, we found from other communities was having a mentor program. And we had this conversation, and Tom Seaton took it upon himself to go out and do this. So you take an established operator like Tom Seaton, he's been working with Doug Carroll at Go Burrito to help him navigate through some of those pitfalls of being a new operator, and what could they do, and that Doug would have a phone call to make to say, hey, who do I call when I have this question? The other area that we would love to see is someone to help these new businesses navigate through the codes and the fire marshals and some of those areas, that if we can help create this opportunity to link our business community to our government and have an efficient way to help them get through those processes, and maybe we'll overcome some of the miscommunications that we've experienced throughout the past few years. Again, for us, from the chamber standpoint, again, 80% of our businesses are small, 80% of our businesses are our members. And we want to figure out how to make a healthier chamber and have the services and resources that are available to our business community and make sure they have a voice. One area that we're seeing that is not connected right now is our remote workers. And we're trying to figure out, how do you capture someone who's a one-off, or they may work for a large Fortune 500 company, but they're the only one person in Johnson City that does that. And how do we create community for them? So we're looking at opportunities like our leadership programs and introduction to Johnson City and connect with Johnson City opportunities to bring in these people who are here, but they don't have a connection. They don't have a sense of community yet with Johnson City. The other area that we're focused on is young professional development. And we've been addressing this for some time as to what are we doing to create our next leaders. And YP Tri was one of those organizations. And when we had a conversation with them, they were saying, we can do some cool things, but we're a volunteer group. And all of a sudden, if John's supposed to volunteer for this event next Thursday and he didn't realize it until Wednesday afternoon, it doesn't get organized well. So if we were very intentional of creating programming for young professionals. We've also had conversations with Ballard and Eastman and some of our major executives or companies to say these things would help us in recruiting our young engineers, that when they come here, there's a social group or something that they can connect to that may be outside of their circle of friends of just in work. And we found out from Ballard that you not only have to recruit the physician, you have to recruit the partner too. And if we can figure out how best we can serve that partner that comes with that person that comes to the health system, we're better apt to retain that person in our area. What we're finding out is if they don't become part of the community, they come here, they serve their 2-year contract, and then they move. So we want to figure out a way that we create a program for young professionals. And there's different chapters of those. There are the 20 to 25, the singles. There are the 25 to 35s, maybe dealing with family issues, remote working, those categories. And then there may be some of those that are in a different level that can be mentors for some of these students and grads that are just now coming out of college. When I was with the Niswonger Foundation, his program of Learn, Earn, and Return had the concept of go get the best education you can get, take 7 years and go experience your career and learn from the best people. And then after that, come back to East Tennessee to practice your craft. And what we're finding out in our conversations with a lot of the college grads, although we want to figure out how to retain them, is they don't know what they don't know, and they want to go experience that. And they're moving to Nashville, they're moving to Charlotte, and then they're saying, hey, I want to move back to Johnson City because, one, I got a support system, I got family, it's a whole lot less expensive, it's a better quality of life, and you got good schools. That we need to figure out how to be intentional of recruiting those programs. And part of the young adult program is a campaign we want to create called Coming Home. And it's to attract and reattract those young professionals that have grown up here, have a connection here, went to ETSU or Milligan, and have gone to other areas, and to say, now's the time for you to look at coming back to Johnson City. And we've seen this, and we have anecdotal stories of people who said, I have a young man who from Charlotte, from here, moved to Charlotte, works for a company there. His company said, you're going to start working remotely. He realized after a month of working remotely, he goes, well, I could live in Johnson City and I can afford a lot more home for less money. I have a longer runway. I only have to be in Charlotte once a quarter for meetings. And my kids are back to where their grandparents live. There's a quality of life involved in that. And the schools were so much better in Johnson City than they are in the area that he was living in North Carolina. So we have a lot of things going for us, and a lot of people are finding out about us, but we need to be a little bit more intentional about how do we recruit, attract, and retain, and especially in our young professionals. So again, we started working on this when we had this conversation with the TVA representative, and she was the past young professional representative for the city of Nashville. So we got a lot of ideas from her those conversations of things that we can do to make Johnson City a more young professional friendly community.
Thank you, Bob. Alicia, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'll be brief. I'm obviously coming from a regional tourism perspective, so thank you all so much for allowing me to sit in on your meeting today. A couple of things that come to mind when we were talking about collaboration and working together. I would love to see more of this. The Visit Johnson City team, NetRep, myself, and Visit Kingsport and the Tri-Cities Airport all worked together and did a big ad with USA Today last year, and that went over really well. And it was a tourism piece, it was a retire piece, and it was a relocation piece. So things like that are super beneficial and hits just about everybody on this call. Obviously, we want to be part of those relocation initiatives, providing what to do and where to go when you relocate here. And then obviously, we will be very excited about the visitor center in downtown Johnson City. That'll be great, I think, for residents and locals too. And then also assisting with events. You all know how to do it, so we're always happy to be part of those events, whether we turn that up a little bit, like something that we have planned for a trail conference that's supposed to come with ETSU and NetRep and Downtown JC and Visit Johnson City. We're all working on together to get that in. It's going to be huge in 2022, hopefully. Things like that as Johnson City to serve as an epicenter for regional style events. That's a huge market that we could tap into together. And also with the Know All Out program that Visit Johnson City is doing, very similar to the tourism and hospitality certificate that we offer with ETSU. I see us being part of that as well. And again, you know, Washington County is in the top 10 of economic impact for tourism in the state. And Johnson City is a big model for that. And you know, you all serve as a model, not only in the Northeast Tennessee region, but in the state. So hats off to what you're already doing. And I love the initiatives. The strategic plan is ambitious, and I'm ready to go all out with you guys. So thanks again.
Thank you. Jeff Dykes, do you want to chime in?
Joe, you just don't know what you've given up there when you asked me to chime in.
Well, Wendy has a mute button.
Oh, okay. That's probably a good thing. No, I really am reading through everything. It's exciting. It's like I say, it's one of those things that from the Bright Ridge standpoint, and I will go back to the staff that we have here and the board that has been very supportive of moving ahead and looking at things. And earlier, I think Mitch, you'd mentioned and talking about risk, and I would say that, you know, broadband was a opportunity that the board saw a positive thing, but it was a risk. And now we're starting to see it really take off and some benefits there. And I think that, I always say, use us and abuse us. Promote 10 gig. You don't even have to put our name on it, but promote it. Get it out there, because that'll help bring people to the area, and it's something that very few have. And if you saw the article just the other day of the impact of broadband in Chattanooga through EPB, it was huge. And I think that's something that maybe as a group, as the city, the county, and everyone, that we can really promote our area in the same way that Chattanooga promotes that to bring people to their place. Also, I'm excited. I keep hearing electric vehicles. We will put charging stations anywhere you would want them. We have several out there already. Our folks are working. We had a meeting yesterday with TVA on this fast charging across the state that they're looking to do, and how we can be involved in that and have some of our folks on that committee. And the other things that I think for me, and everyone knows I'm a big supporter of regionalism, but I get a little bit selfish when I look at it. I want to see my system grow as far as the Bright Ridge system. And a lot of that is growth of people. And the more people we bring to the region is a positive. And I think that would, where you'll see growth in Johnson City and Jonesboro, in the Kingsports and Bristols, as we entice those people to be here. But we want to continue as Bright Ridge to provide stuff that enhance Johnson City and the rest of the community here. When we look at Washington County, we just received some grants that at one point we kept getting rejected for grants, and suddenly we had an opportunity to get some grants out in the county, and putting fiber in the place of where we were going to do wireless is huge. We were talking here at staff yesterday that we'll have within this year 1,700 homes in the county that were scheduled to be on our wireless program that will now have fiber. The take rates out there we're seeing just in this first grant, we're at 77% and 80% in just those two areas of the county of taking to have fiber, and we expect that to even go better. And we've only been completed it a month ago. We're seeing that same growth in the Johnson City and everywhere else. Again, when we look at here at Bright Ridge, anything we do is done for our customers. It's done for our community. And what can we do? You'll see that my background there, it looks like a bank vault. And that's just to say I'm sitting in the vault. You don't see a lot of cash around, because that idea that Bright Ridge has a limitless amount of money, it's not true. You don't see any of it there. But we believe that, and our board, that in putting our dollars to work to enhance the community as a public entity is where we should be. And, we talk about, I know one of the things on here was renewable energy sources. Our board has moved us forward to the opportunity for solar. We're looking at soon to break ground on the next 9 megawatts. And we're working with some folks to bring to our board another 14 megawatts. And a lot of that is a positive relationship that we have with TVA. We look at the opportunity to do smart cities. I have some folks working here, some opportunities to bring to our board to look at in the future of how can we turn and have a truly smart city, and working directly with a couple of folks at TVA that they're hoping to come out with some funding that might help enhance that ahead. And we're hopefully will be one of those cities on a pilot for that. When we look at the opportunity to environmentally sound, one of the things that TVA is working towards, and we will be a part of that pilot program, is carbon counting. And how do we count the carbon in the area? And I know that would be something, and when that starts, and we hope to get that, to have some of those meetings in February, and it will draw in the city, the county, and all of those folks to be in those meetings, because it will be another one of those things that we will be able to put on a brochure, to put on our websites, that how environmentally friendly. For me, it's like anything that we can do to enhance the community is only a positive for our customers. We also know that there's the opportunities out there to help those who need help. And our board approved a home uplift program this past year that we're putting $400,000 a year in a home uplift program that will help those that have need for insulation in homes, need for windows, replacement of heating and air conditioning units and stuff that really enhances our community and will help everyone be brought up and improved with their life. And I think that's also a positive for the entire community, as something could be promoted, that we're not just looking at bringing all of these new people that we'd love to see and grow to the area, but we're also continuing to help those folks that need uplifted also. And I think that's when Alicia Summers was talking about with the businesses. It's the same way with the business. How can we work with those existing businesses, make sure that they are in good shape, talking to them on what is the potential of growth, with your company, and what is your corporate folks looking at to help it grow. But I'll read through this, and it hits a lot of the things that I know we at Bright Ridge are really excited about, want to see our company grow and do, but also as we see the opportunities, it's opportunities that the city is looking at also. And so it's exciting. We've got a lot of, I hope in the future, other things to bring to the board to grow as a community. Again, the broadband access, I think, is one that we can really capitalize on. When it talks about getting it ready for the adoption of 5G, we're actually in discussions with some of the folks that are going to be needing access to towers for 5G. One of the great things about that, they have to have fiber to get that 5G out there. So, and they usually don't build the infrastructure to get it there, but Bright Ridge does. So that's some additional things there. And then, again, 5G kind of reminds me of solar. It's kind of got its niche in the electric generation side of the community, but it doesn't solve everything, but it does have a great place in the future. And it's something that our folks stay abreast of also. But again, there's, Ms. Brock, you had talked about dashboards. There are some opportunities with some things that some of our other folks are looking at here to give the city and some others opportunities to have access to not just what they're using and what electric they're using, but everything else as far as a dashboard where they can see on an immediate basis what's going on within their facility. That's another thing that we hope to grow is not just smart homes and have a program to go out and install and put stuff into smart homes that someone can then from their phone look and access anything they need, but also smart buildings. And again, that's another program that we have been talking and working with some folks at TVA about how Bright Ridge could be one of the places that is initiated and bring the city and the communities into how that could work. So for me, we pay TVA a lot of money for the power we buy. So I'm trying to get every penny of it I can back from them. So, but again, I could sit here and talk all day, Joe, about a lot of fun and exciting things, but I'm going to be quiet and move on.
Thank you, Jeff. I think we've heard from most folks, Mayor Grandy, Andy and Brent. Do you all want to offer comment?
Yeah, I'll just be quick and say that, in working with Brenda and the CVB and her staff, the mechanism here, and I think what the city has laid out, the reason why it's beneficial is because, we're able to take the resources that the CVB has and dedicate it to either filling in gaps that are needs in the community or supporting other organizations and partnering with organizations in a way that can expand the efforts overall. And so I think that's just been a really positive and beneficial thing. I think, as you all know, tourism is on top of the advertising and the fun stuff. It's also a very data-driven industry. So when Brenda talks about collecting information on people who moved in, I mean, there's also other information that needs to be strengthened around tourism and visitors and everything else. And quite frankly, that's up to not just the CVB, but attractions like ours and hotels and everybody else to track those things, because that helps to target our advertising regionally in a more focused direction. And then just something that I think is really, important to me, but and I think important to any other person running a business in the area, is this idea of getting to know, of frontline workers and anyone else getting to know Johnson City. So the No All Out program, I think, is crucial. I've worked with Alicia in the past with Netta, in having those conversations and developing programs like that. But I think that any local community, it's in their best interest for any tourism-driven segment and businesses that rely on visitors and even locals getting to know the community is and what's out there is really, really important. And it's not just about somebody sharing information on where to go or what to do if you're in town for the weekend, but it's also important from a pride aspect and knowing what's here to begin with. Even if you live here and you've lived here your whole life, you might not know. So I think that's a really crucial element as part of our strategic plan moving forward. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Andy. Mayor or Brent?
Thank you, Joe. Really, I spent some time working on a regional platform, but Washington County is going to always lead the way. It's the birthplace of Tennessee. It's the birthplace of our region. It's critical that we have the community for our business improvement. When we bring people here on site visits and that sort of thing, the first thing they want to know is do we have a workforce? And secondly, what's our community like? And I've enjoyed the opportunity to partner with the city on some really exciting things that are going to be happening on West Walnut Street. With the Ashley Courthouse being the Johnson City anchor, and to the other end of our street with the university. So as we work across the region and develop a bigger platform and an opportunity to market, Andy was really instrumental in working with one of our task force groups that looking at what it's going to take to bring people to our area and keep them here for a week as opposed to a day or two. So that's not just one or two venues, it's multiple venues, and that's where people come and spend money and help our community grow. So really a great piece of work. Washington County, Johnson City Jonesboro is going to be leading the charge in our region for thinking out of the box and doing things in a different and special way moving forward. Just thankful to be part of it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Brent Long here with JCDA. I'll just say that I'm very encouraged that it sounds like every representative from each of the entities that have spoken today seems like they're all singing off the same sheet of music. And I think that as they go back and execute on their tactical parts and work together in synergy with one another, that if we'll just bear in mind that the COVID pandemic that we're in right now has its challenges, but it also has, I believe, is going to bring with it tremendous opportunity. People have been forced to work from home, and life will never go back to the way it was before. And because people have been forced to work from home, and people now realize, more people now than ever realize they can live wherever they want to live. It's on us, each of us, to execute on that and help Johnson City to, reap our share of those folks, whether that's folks that would have moved away that we can get to stay here, or folks that, have decided they don't want to live in Charlotte anymore, or wherever that may be. So I think we're at a precipice right now, and it's up to us to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Brent. I just was making some notes as each of you have been sharing what you've got going on. And what struck me was certain parallel tracks that a number of you are on. Mitch Miller made reference to, the idea of the visitor to here moving to work here. Bob Cantler spoke of coming home. It seems to me that's a theme where across the different organizations we represent, there's some opportunities for us to partner together in a way that would, improve or increase our return. It's nice to hear from the library, and I heard a couple things that Julia said that I thought, you're talking about those skills, whether it's for youth or for small businesses or some combination. There's a parallel with some of what the chamber's talking about, and it may create a more accessible opportunity. You didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure Diana Cantler lit up when you described the library as it related to the idea of like a pop-up art event or an art market. I don't remember exactly, but art's what I wrote down. And what struck me there is these are the kinds of things that if one organization maybe has the means to market, another has the means to staff and populate, and another has the place to do it, all of a sudden we're pulling together resources that we as a community have that individually we may not feel like we have, but collectively we have to greater potential. And I guess that's what I hope we come away from this with, is that you're not out there on an island unto yourself. We're in this together. We each have responsibilities for certain things, but any chance we have to link the library to the JCDA, to the city marketing, or to the CVB, or however those pieces need to fit together, are an opportunity. And there may be people who should be a part of this conversation going forward who aren't here yet. I don't know if there's a part for the schools to play in this conversation or the mall to play in this conversation. There may be other stakeholders in the community that we may want to bring into this, but I think this is where we start. And I guess my question to you is there a sense amongst this group now that this has been helpful? And then I guess secondarily to that some sort of recurring event where we just get together and maybe in 30 or 45 minutes, share what big things coming on down the pike. What opportunity do you see out there, but you need help closing the deal? Talk a little bit about that. And we won't call upon everybody, so you don't have to worry about having to have an answer, but I'd like to hear from a cross section.
Mayor, I think you're spot on. This is Mitch. Again, I'm picking on Joe Grandy, the mayor in Washington County. I think that just illustrates everything that Joe has talked about over the past few months about regionalism. And we're a lot better working together with the funds that we have to hopefully accomplish the goals that we all want to see anyway. So, the more that we can come together and kind of have these team meetings, if you want to call it that, I think it's going to be better. And there's a lot more cross-secting in the sectors and in organizations than we probably even realize. But I'm more than happy, and I think as we touched on, just sharing some things that we already had done with Brenda and vice versa. Just as the CVB has taken photos, and Jenna and Brenda have been great to let us use those photos and any kind of material that we're using. I think we just need to think bigger than that. And, if we can work with Bob on the Coming Home initiative, I think that'd be awesome too. It's just sketching out a plan that basically falls in line with the strategic plan probably is something that we need to place a priority on. So maybe outside of this meeting, if several of us can connect and do some homework to come back to each of you as budget season approaches, I think that'd be something very smart to do.
Joe, a community where I've seen this happen, and Jenny's been there also, is Bentonville, Arkansas. And their group like this meets, I think, every other Monday to have a conversation of what's going on, what initiatives are we working on, and then they're finding out, like we've done today, that other people can bring certain resources to the project. And theirs was based around the bike initiative and the trails and everything that they have there, but it's expanded now into tourism and into the arts center and several other things, and actually in recruiting businesses. They recruited a business called Climb Bentonville from Nashville, which was a pretty cool climbing facility that through conversations like this, they were able to find a resource, who to talk to and how to get that person to look at their community. So definitely agree with you.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Mitch. I mean, maybe we can do regionalism even before we know what the name on the letterhead needs to say. So we'll just do it. So, anyone else want to offer any comments? Any of the commissioners on the call?
I think one of our next steps we should consider, a lot has been talked about today, and it's really, really exciting. As we look at the way we've laid this out, what we hope to achieve, those are kind of big goals that we've set there. But how we build in what you've been talking about in the form of objectives, and then how we kind of measure this. So if we're looking at what we hope to achieve, recruit and attract new businesses with focus on remote workers. So we've had a couple of you talk about that. What does that look like in terms of an objective? And do we need more resources in that area, or do we have it covered? There are things in future ready infrastructure. We talk about, creating a sustainability plan because we want to have minimum impact on our environment around here. That probably is going to take someone else we need to engage with too, in addition to this group, to help build that plan for the city. The other thing we didn't talk about, and maybe Pete wants to address this, he's gone over these strategies with his department heads, and then where the city resources and actions are going to plug in. So Pete, do you want to kind of make some comments on the work y'all have done?
Well, we've gotten together as the leadership team and looked at, trying to develop some ideas and concepts that would further the plan, just like everybody else. And what we're doing now is hopefully what we're all going to leave here with today, which is, okay, let's prioritize this long laundry list of things we have identified so that we can break it down into a timeline and make sure that we're coordinated with everybody else so we can get it into the budget request. I'm really using this for a budget building exercise as much as anything, because we can't do all of this at once, but we can talk to each other like we are today and figure out who's got what priorities and work together to set priorities that are in concert with one another so that we can get something moving. I mean, I think we need to look at the low-hanging fruit and make sure that we continue to nurture and grow the things that we have started, in addition to taking on some of these new initiatives. So, we've looked, quality of life issues, economic development issues, just a couple. The Walnut Street quarter is getting ready to be a $30 to $50 million investment by those of us on this phone call, which will address economic development. It's going to address stay at home. It's going to address entrepreneurship and startup businesses and nurturing small businesses. It's going to address quality of life. It's going to address a stronger tie between the university and downtown. So the Walnut Street project, I think, addresses many items that we've talked about in this comprehensive or this strategic plan today. Quality of life issues, another one of the priorities that the commission has identified in previous budget cycles was additional ball fields. I think that originated from the CVB and some discussions with them years ago. That feeds hotels, motels, restaurants, shopping, part of the sports marketing piece. We need to figure out how we can communicate to those folks that are visiting us and convince some of them to stay with us in terms of relocating here and bringing their businesses here and those types of things. So primarily to this point, we've really been focused on what I'll call hard capital projects. And I'm anxious to take what I've learned today back to the leadership team and to allow them to expand on their thoughts and ideas on what do we need to do as the local government to facilitate your all's groups to be successful in those areas that you've identified that you're ready to move forward with.
Thank you, Pete. I want to keep an eye on the clock just to respect that people have other responsibilities. I would like to reconvene this group with some level of predictability. And so I would be interested to hear, I think Bob referenced Bentonville, and the meeting happened more frequently there than I initially had anticipated, but I could see value in it. What is people's sense of next steps? I mean, should we reconvene in a month and 45 days and then settle into a quarterly basis, or and I would, whatever we do, I want to keep an eye on committing to you that if we're going to do that, it's going to be a 60-minute meeting. And if it's not a 60-minute meeting, there's probably homework people need to be doing just to keep from this becoming an all-consuming exercise.
So one of the things that I think would be key is this group meeting on maybe, like you said, Mayor Wise, a quarterly basis. But I think there's so much value in the paid staff that is working on these projects. And Bentonville, it's their mayor and their head of their economic development, their downtown development, their chamber, their CVB, several key individuals that meet on that more ongoing basis. And so, we could use that sort of that stand-up type meeting with, 9 of the, however many entities are represented here, to do a short once a month, every 2 weeks, that type of thing, just to make sure that we are keeping, I think that communication lines are really, really important. And I think that would add value if there was some additional opportunity for some of us to get together on a more ongoing, regular basis.
I agree. I think that would be helpful, I would imagine. Can I leave that with those of you who are staff to figure that out? And then for the balance of the group, maybe let's look to try to reconvene sometime later, maybe early spring, and then set a pattern of doing this going forward. I think that'll put us convening again. Pete, correct me if I'm wrong. If we reconvened in the latter part of March, we would be just about getting ready to head into budget. I mean, or would that be too late?
I will be just about done with meeting with all the departments for budget requests, and all of the outside agencies. Deadline for their budget submission is probably the middle of March. I haven't seen Dustin's letter. Brenda, has he got a letter out to you all yet?
No, typically that's like the end of February or sometime in March. So I think we probably know we've got about 60 to 45 days maybe to get those in. That's typically when it is.
Well, let us
like to see it.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see it sooner rather than later, if we can move it into mid-March, to be able to have and it may be healthy if everybody gets together and presents their things. We could do it one time or split it up. I don't know.
Could be like a reality TV show. Like you have to come in and pitch something, then we vote you on and off the island or something.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna keep meeting and talking about the same things over and over, we really need a work plan together so that we know what we're meeting on each time and measuring the progress that's being made. So that's just my viewpoint.
Yeah, I certainly concur. I don't want to keep having the same conversation over and over. So with all that, let us maybe coordinate calendars offline, but if staff could begin those kinds of dialogues, I think I've heard a number of different ideas that I think hold a lot of promise. I think when the pandemic is finally passed and been eliminated and we return to life as normal, whatever the new normal would look like, there will be a genuine yearning to engage in the kinds of things many of us are a part of producing. And so the pop-up art markets and the founders after fives and those kinds of events are going to be things people are especially looking forward to. So let's be ready. So with all of that said, I appreciate you all carving out time this afternoon. And if there's not further comment, we can adjourn this workshop and look to gather again in the near future.
One thing I would point out while we're talking about March meetings, the week of March the 8th is school spring break. So that's probably going to impact multiple people. We may want to try to avoid the week of March the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And March the 18th, if we're going to stick to Thursdays, March the 18th is loaded up with other meetings. In particular, the NetRep board meetings, the 18th at 2:00. So looking at my calendar in the month of March, those are two things we probably ought to keep in mind as we start setting future meetings.
All right.
Not that
Thank
I'm
you.
of any importance at all, but I will be completely out of contact the 25th or the 26th through April the 4th. So if it's at the very end, I will not be able to make it.
Perhaps we'll do a doodle poll to create a more organized environment for this. So if there's nothing further, can we adjourn this gathering? All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good afternoon.